Let's try again. Is that better? Hopefully you can hear me now. Yeah, there's a good reason that you couldn't hear me. There's a good reason that you couldn't hear me, and it was because I forgot to turn the mic on. Great stuff. Thank you, Kay. Please let me know if you can hear me all right. You should be able to now. Silly man indeed, Cindy. Can see and hear. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. So if anyone can't see or hear me, you won't be able to see or hear what I'm saying now. So let's just put it in the chat. Who do you want down? Don't want them. There we go. Yes, sometimes you do need to refresh in order to see what's going on. Sorry about that. It should be okay now, I think. Fingers crossed. Looks like we're all right for everybody. Okay, so let's get going. The light is slightly weird today because this is just the point of the day. It's still light here, which is really nice to be able to finally be doing a webinar and a stream in daylight. But the sun comes into the studio at about this time of the day, so it's very bright down on my setup there. You can see my little daffodils are blown out down there. But we should be all right. Okay, I think we're running okay. So welcome to the April 2020 webinar, and today I want to talk a little bit about Facebook. Now, we've covered quite a bit on Instagram lately. I covered a little bit of Facebook stuff right at the beginning when I was talking about the introduction. I think it was the introduction to social media webinar, which is a little while ago now. And I want to revisit Facebook today because there are a couple of things that I want to make you aware of, which you can use in order to develop your audience a bit, that you may not have come across yet. And also just a little bit of an update on the way the Facebook algorithm is running now. So I'm going to focus today mostly on they're kind of like two sides of Facebook. There's your personal profile and there's your Facebook page. Now, I remember quite a long time ago, Studio Cat's trying to climb in a box. What's wrong, Studio Cat? Do you want to go out? Do you want to go out, big man? What is it? You all right? What is it then? You just want it to be down now. And then do you want to be back up again now? Do you want to be out? No, you want to stay? Do you want to come up? He's in a bit of a funny mood. I think it's the nice weather. Doesn't know what to do with himself. So I saw a comment on Facebook some time ago from Sadie Valeri, who you probably know about. And she was asking whether there was any point in having a Facebook page. Now, most people only have a Facebook page these days in order to do advertising. And that's what I always thought. That really the only point of having a Facebook page, which is something very different than your personal profile, is so that you can pay for advertising. And then as we were looking into Instagram, I discovered that you can actually, in the page editing features, there's Creator Studio, which means that you can post from there to Instagram and Facebook at the same time, which is a very useful thing to be able to do. But there's a bit more to pages, and I want to start today really with that question, like why bother with Facebook at all really these days when Instagram is so big? And I think the reason is for me at least, on Facebook, we can create much deeper connections with people than we can on Instagram. You can have very short conversations on Instagram, but you tend not to build up relationships in the same way as you do on Facebook. On Facebook, there's lots of other ways of staying in touch. There's Messenger. We can be in groups together. Thank you, Kato. Yeah, lots of daffodil paintings. I'll try not to get distracted by those at the moment because I'm deep into a series of those. But I think with Facebook, you tend to make deeper connections with people. So that's a really good reason to be using it instead of just Instagram. You can have like longer term conversations, which tend to be more perennial. So if you've got some content up there, like a featured post or a page, a featured photo or something like that, you can have a conversation on that goes on for quite a long period of time. You want down again? He doesn't know what he wants to do. Do you want to go out? I'll see if he wants out. Going out? Yeah, let's go out. Sorry about that. He's in a funny mood. And there's something else that Facebook has which Instagram doesn't have. I'm going to go into that in a little bit in more detail, but that's groups, which I think is really important for us, can be really important. Of course, there's a really large number of artists on Facebook. We all know that, and they all tend to congregate around groups. So they're really useful places to be hanging out if you want to grow the amount of people that you can contact on a regular basis, which after all is what this is all about. A big advantage of Facebook over Instagram is it's very, very easy to link back to your site. Okay, I don't know. I was looking at my stats earlier on today for about the last 6 months, and I do get traffic over to my site from Facebook. To be fair, I don't put links in there very much, and I have a sneaking suspicion, although I haven't, after doing some research, I haven't found anything that definitely reinforces this. But I have a suspicion that when you link out of Facebook to somewhere else, that content doesn't get prioritized in people's feeds so much. And I'll go into why I think that is in a few moments. But it's still easier to get people from Facebook over to your site than it is with Instagram. With Instagram, in order to be able to put links in your stories and stuff like that, you've got to have 10k followers, which is quite a big ask, you know. So actually, while I'm on the subject, I'll show you quickly my analytics for the last 6 months. Let's see if I can do a quick screen share. So this is you hopefully should be able to see my Google Analytics. The date range I've got is about the last 6 months here. You can see a lot more people are coming over to my site January and February through March. Not many towards the end of March, and then it goes up quite a bit at the beginning of April. So there's not much going on here, and then more people start coming over. I think I know why this is. I'll go into that shortly soon as well. Most of it comes from mobile Facebook, so most of the Facebook people are on mobile. I pretty much know that. But despite the fact that I've had 1,500 visitors, which is not that many in 6 months, I've had 11 sign-ups to the mailing list, and I suspect part of this is because most of the people are on mobile, and it's on my site, it needs a bit of a redesign, and it's not so easy to find the sign-up form. If you're on a phone or a tablet, it's much easier to find it if you're on normal screen. Okay, if I go back to the page that I had before this in Analytics, if it will take me there. Now this should show all the traffic sources for the last 6 months. Google is always the highest. So Facebook is there at number 4, but it's only just under 2% of the total traffic. And the conversion rate actually is not all that great. It's less than 0.5% of visitors converting, and Google is 1/3%, and I would expect that to be very low. You know, so that's kind of surprising that it's so low. So what that tells me really is if I'm getting so many people over from Facebook who are already already in contact with me and know who I am, I'm probably not doing a great job of converting them once they get through to the other side. So that's worth looking at, okay? But the first thing I want to talk to you about today is sorry, just a second. Naomi's saying the link isn't working. Let me just check. Are you here, Naomi, in the chat? Let me know. That's all right, Mariana, don't worry. I've just been giving a little bit of an intro about why we're looking at Facebook again now, so no problem. Are you here, Naomi? She's just messaged me on Facebook to say that she can't, just 2 seconds, to say that the link isn't working for some reason, which it is, so I'm not sure what the problem is. Hopefully she'll find us very, very shortly. So like I was saying before, there are basically 2 ways to use Facebook, and the first one that you've got is your page. Now, a couple of reasons why it is worth having a Facebook page. Something interesting has happened on my Facebook profile lately. Since I've been doing the live streams, especially daily, which some of you probably know I've been doing. Basically, I'm going online at the same time every day and streaming my painting, my studio, what I'm doing for an hour, 2 hours, something like that. And my follower count, or my friend count, I should say, because I do it on my personal profile, has risen pretty sharply. And I was looking at it today and was pretty shocked to find out that I'm like at about 4,000 now, just over 4,000. And there's a limit to how many people you can have as friends on Facebook. You can only have 5,000. And I know that might seem like an awful lot, but if you're using Facebook well and you get to the point where you have like 5,000 friends, that means at that point you can't contact any more of them. And generally speaking, you can't contact any more people, any new people. And generally speaking, when you put up a post on Facebook, it would probably only be seen by about 10% of those people, maybe about 500 if you're lucky. But that's like a hard limit to how many people you can contact just through your personal profile. Now, people can follow you still. You can have more followers, even if they're not actually friends. But it's not as likely that they're going to see your content as if someone is a friend of yours. So what the page does is basically means there's no limits. So I would, generally speaking, I think I would probably advise to stay with your personal profile. Set up a page anyway, but mostly stay with your personal profile until you find that you start to get maybe up to about 3,000 friends, which you certainly can do, you know, with a little bit of effort. You could probably do that in a few months, you know. And I'm going to give you some ideas for how you can expand that a little bit further without being sleazy and unpleasant. And at that point, you know, you really want to think about what you're going to do with your page. Like, I'm starting to take my page a little bit more seriously now. I'm starting to think about what I can do with it. Since there's going to be, I'm going to hit a point quite soon where no more people are going to be able to friend me on Facebook. The other thing about the page, which is quite useful, is that people can just follow the page. You know, for someone to friend you for your personal account, it's a 2-step process. They have to request it and then you have to okay it, which means you have to spend some time going through and seeing if you want this person to be a friend of yours or not. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Naomi's not here. Ah, there she is, right. Sorry, it looks like there was a little bit of confusion about where the link was. Looks like we're all right though. So on a page, people can just follow you. So that's quite good. You don't have to do anything about that. Except that, generally speaking, these days, about 5 or 6% of your Facebook page followers are going to see what you post because Facebook wants you to pay for advertising, okay? But you can ask people who follow your page to tick, when they follow you, to tick the see posts from this page first. And that will considerably increase your reach. So that is worth doing. So I'm going to show you, I've just been having a tinker about with my page today. All right, okay. Yes, I think that's okay. So let me take you into my page and show you what I've been doing with that today. So that's Threads, obviously. So here is my page. Now I've kept this the same. Not sure why that didn't work. In that I use the same profile picture. It's all very, hopefully reasonably clear that I'm the same person, So if someone finds me on my personal profile first, I want them to then find me here, and realize it's the same person. So one of the most important things I think here is this cover image here, and you can change this to be anything you want. It's a good idea, I think, to have some of your work up. If you're just painting, then just put artist. If you're just looking to start the page off, even though you're not actually teaching or selling work or anything like that, then run it as a little bit more of a personal profile. It's almost, I would say, for our point of view, we're not really looking at this so much as a business thing. We want to be creating personal contact. So I would run this as a kind of an adjunct to my personal profile. When I do anything on here, I tend to do it like that. If you want to change anything in here, the easiest place to do it is up here. It's really difficult to find your way around this. That's one thing I did find. But if you go into Edit Page Info at the top there, which is running a little bit slowly for me at the moment. This is basically the best place. You can change pretty much anything you want to change down here. It's a good idea, I think, to put something basic in your description here about who you are and what people can expect from you. Categories is always useful to put in because that will affect how often you come up in search. So that's good. And you can add all of this kind of stuff. You can put a link back to your website, which is a useful thing, I think. I have put my email address in as well. There's a risk that I might end up with some spam, but it's probably going to be okay. But I haven't put my phone number in, and I have put my address. And I think all those are they're useful things to put in for just a bit of extra trust so people know who you are. Interestingly, by the way, the edit page info and settings both go to exactly the same place. Why they've got it like that, I don't know. So when you first set up your page, you can, let's come out of this and go back to the page. You can set a bunch of stuff, and one of the things that is really useful to set up near the beginning is your @name. Now I set this page up a long time ago when I was still running Creative Triggers, which was a site I had quite a while back. Which has now been folded into Threads. So this said @Creative Triggers, and I actually only just changed this today. But when someone messages you, this is what they'll see, so that's a really useful thing to change. Now I wanted to change that today to be something else, and it was ridiculously hard to find out how. And you've got to go into the about. You would think it would be in one of these two, which both go to the same place. I mean, this is such bad design. It's actually in the about, and then it's in here, and you can change it here. So you just go into edit there and you can change what your name is there. So when someone messages you on Messenger, this is what they see. So I didn't want Creative Triggers in there anymore because that had pretty much gone. All of the exercises from that are now part of Threads. So basically that's it. Setting up a good cover photo is as simple as clicking on there. There's an optimal size for that, which is, I think it's 820 pixels by 360 pixels. Let me just, I'm going to pop that into the chat. So if you want to make a note of that, you can. It was 820 by 360. And you want it to be a pretty high res photo as well. You want a good quality photo in there. And now I was talking about groups earlier on, and this is the really useful part of having your own page. And this is, Facebook has only just added this fairly recently, within the last year or so. And it means that if you didn't used to be able to do this, but if you have your own page, then you can now create a group, a Facebook group, which is attached to your page. Now, obviously they've done this for businesses, but that can be an incredibly useful thing for us, because as you probably know, artists love Facebook groups, right? I don't know how many you're a member of, but I'm a member of quite a few. There's only a couple maybe that I check on a regular basis. I think I've got about 3 of my own now. Now I've just set up the Art of Calm group as well, you know. And I set that one up because I thought it would be just a nice place just for the daily streams. Before I figured out that if I streamed only in that group, then most of my followers, my friends on Facebook, wouldn't see that I was live, and a lot less people were watching the daily videos that I was doing. So now what I do is I stream to both. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to do that next month when we talk about video. But if you can set up a group which is attached to your page, that's a really, really useful thing. So you don't set up a group which is about your particular stuff, about your work. Very few people are going to be interested in joining a group like that, but you can set up a group about some area of art that you're particularly interested in, and then people will join. And that means that because it's your group and it's assigned to your page, it's much easier. There are connections between those two within Facebook, which makes it much easier for you to message people from your page. Otherwise, Facebook doesn't allow you to do it. Okay. So, for instance, there's the Threads group, which you know about. I've also got the Master in Colour group, which is for people who do the Master in Colour course, and some of you are probably in both. Now, if this feature had been there when I set all this stuff up, those groups would be attached to my page. So increasingly, the more I look at this, the more I'm seeing that there is a real value to pages if you can create a group. Because if you have a group and people join the group, then that's a really good way to get people to your page without paying for advertising, okay? That's the real value of having a group attached to your page. So that's something that I'm starting to think about. The problem for me now, and the problem I think you will find if you get very far into this and start running a lot of tests and stuff like that, as I have, like trying out ideas, is that you end up with too many groups to manage. So I'm already in a position where I'm thinking, well, I've got too many, I should really try and consolidate them or close them down. But until I started the Art of Calm group, I didn't have an open, freely available group. And then I realized that you could have a group attached to your page, and I thought, well, you know, now that I'm streaming mostly on my personal profile, I'm not sure if there's that good a reason for the Art of Calm group to still be there. And I went and had a look, and it's got 300 members. So, you know, I care about these people. They joined that group expecting something from the group, so I can't just delete it now. But if you are going to start a group, I would definitely set up a page first, think about the future, set up a page first, and then attach the group to the page. It's going to make a lot more sense long term if you do it that way around. Okay, let me have a quick check of the comments. Kato says, my personal Facebook has posts about other things than art, not professional looking. Right, now this goes to the core of how I think we should use Facebook, okay? You probably have heard me say this many times before, but I believe very much is that we're not, I don't believe in approaching people as a business, as someone who's trying to sell painting or as someone who's trying to sell teaching. I believe in making connections. And being authentic and being very much myself. I don't care if I come across particularly as unprofessional, because what I'm mostly interested in is connecting with people on a very real and authentic level. And that means making mistakes sometimes. That means just showing up as you are, you know, and not trying to provide a kind of a facade of business-like togetherness. In order to show that you're very professional. You know, I personally, I don't think that's the way to do it, especially for us, for the kind of people that we generally are as painters. I think we're much better off being as honest and straightforward as we can. If we're going to be sharing our struggles that we have in creating art, and I think that's the best way to make connections with other artists, sharing the highs and lows of what we do, that's a very different thing than a business coming along and saying, I am so-and-so Inc. and this is what I have to sell you, and this is what the benefit is to you. It changes everything that you do, okay? So I think personally, if you want to connect with other artists, which is the way I've always approached it and the way I've built up the following that I have now, and why I make a living from what I do now, just be yourself. So most of the people that I get over to my site from Facebook, they come from my personal profile. Now, if you want to use your personal profile just for personal stuff, that's a different thing entirely. I don't use Facebook that way. My personal profile is probably more like a mix of how most people use their personal profile and the way a business uses a page. So I'm interested in getting people from my personal profile back over to my site, where they'll see that I have some interesting stuff for them there, and I can make a deeper connection, and possibly they're going to sign up to the mailing list, which is the magic moment, which then means that I'm not dependent on any other website to contact them. And they're much more likely to see my stuff, you know. I'm with ConvertKit as my email supplier, and they're not ever going to turn around and say, from now on, only 10% of your email list is going to see your emails. That's what Facebook effectively does, you know, and Instagram does it too. Your email provider doesn't do that. When you send an email out, chances are half or more of the people on your email list are going to see and open that email, and a good proportion of them will click on it. You know, that's incredibly powerful compared to social media, where you have to build up a much bigger following because a very small percentage of people will see what you do. That's nowhere near as useful, you know. So the way I approach it is, on my personal profile, I have some posts that are more of a personal nature. Sometimes I will, people have been asking me for me to post some pictures of the garden, so I've got to get around to that. Sometimes I'll have some photos of the kids and stuff like that. And I will put personal stuff up there sometimes. I have quite strong political views, and every now and again they leak out on there. And I don't try and keep it back, but I don't harp on about it either. You know, I'm happy for people to know where I stand, because people who are, let's say, very antagonistic towards my point of view, I would rather not have them as customers either, you know, frankly. I want to be engaging with people who are like me, you know, who I can get on with. And I've actually caught some criticism for that in the past, but I think it's the best way to be. You know, it's like, if you're going to take me, you take all of me or none of me at all. But I don't harp on about that stuff. And most of the stuff that I put up there, if you have a look at my personal profile, is me trying to share useful stuff. That's what I'm mostly trying to do there. So I post a mix, but it's mostly art-related content. And it's mostly me trying to put up stuff that I think is going to be useful to people. And I would suggest, if you want to build a following there, as you think about building a following on, say, Instagram, for people who are going to be maybe interested in your art, or if you're teaching it, if you do that already, or if you're going to do it at some point, then I would approach it the same way. Just put both of them together, your personal and your, what you might call your business stuff, together. I think the way that we do business is changing. This is what social media and the internet has allowed us to do, is to connect to people as individuals, not as a faceless business. And that's a very different thing. It's never really happened before, and I think it requires a little bit of rethinking about how you present yourself. So that's my thinking on that, pretty much. I would say it's up to you. You have to decide what balance you're most comfortable with, but that's how I approach mine. Still confused on page versus profile. Let me do another quick screen share, and I'll show you. I'll show you again where they are and how they're different. So once you have a page, your page appears over here on this drop-down list. Now that's something very different than your personal profile. When you set up a Facebook account, you automatically get a personal profile. Now my personal profile is over here. The page is here. They look the same because I use the same, this is my page here, Paul Foxton. I use the same profile picture. I use the same name, obviously. But here it's a little bit different. Like, people don't friend you, they have to follow your page. I've got, you know, if you think that I've never really promoted this page, but I've got about 4,000 people following my personal profile as friends, and I've got about 450 people following my page. You know, it's like a tenth. But I haven't done very much with this page really. I'm only just starting to think about what I can do with it now, and may start doing some more stuff with it. So down here, it's all about the different kinds of content, you know. So there's your photos, there's your videos, your posts are here as well. Your profile is very different from this. You can get to this same kind of content, but it's not so obvious where it is, okay? So this is geared up for other people. This is really made for businesses, for other people to come and find what a business is about, and for a business to build a following. And the reason Facebook has this is so that you can pay for advertising, right? My personal profile is over here. And this is your standard kind of timeline, your wall, if you like, you know. But it's really, I mean, I can understand why you're a bit confused about the difference between the two, because it's fairly similar, you know, and I've gone out of my way to make sure that mine looks very similar these days. So you can tell that the two are linked, you know. So there's content here. Other people can post here, which you can stop people doing on your own Facebook page if you want to. You can have just your own stuff on there, which is what most businesses do. But obviously other people put stuff up here too. All of my live streams go up here, all of the conversations go up here, all that kind of stuff. You can see my friends, there's photos here, some of my own featured photos. The videos are actually here. If you go into more, Wake Up Facebook, more, and then videos, you see there's a lot of stuff in here. It is there. And it's very, very similar. The main difference with your profile is that you can't attract people over here through advertising. You know, this is made for individuals who just want to hook up socially. You don't have to make this, you just have to sign up and everybody gets this. You know, the standard Facebook personal profile. The page, you actually have to make this. You know, that's something very different. And Facebook even sees those two entities as being very different too, which can be slightly confusing sometimes. Does that clear things up a little bit? It's mostly for Facebook is thinking about different kinds of users and trying to make sure that it has the page for one, and that it has just the normal personal profile for everybody else. Yeah, I mean, it's fine to have a page just for your art and to keep your personal profile separate if you want to do that. I would advise not doing it if you want to build an audience on Facebook. I would be posting, because it's much easier. It's much easier to build an audience, at least to begin with, in your personal profile than it is with a page. Considerably easier. So I would consider doing it that way around. It's up to you if you are not comfortable with that way of approaching it. But I would strongly advise, especially as painters, you know, when we're making connections online, just to be who we are. And I think a lot of that has come from what I learned from my blog when it was very young, about 15 years ago, and I was just teaching myself to draw and paint. Well, I still am, but I was at the very beginnings of the journey. And I shared everything, like everything that went wrong, and people resonated with that. You know, and I didn't have anything for sale then, wasn't even thinking about having anything for sale. Then it gradually built up from there. So that perhaps that's why I look at things slightly differently. Okay. Okay, says I have two, a personal one and one for my art, but I'm not able to post as my art page. It's very frustrating. Oh, you're not able to post on your own personal profile as your art page. Yeah, the way to do that is to put a post on your Facebook page and then share it. So then you can choose who you share it as. So you share it as yourself. You share it as your personal profile, okay, onto your personal profile. The difficulty with that is the post, this is a kind of a strange way that Facebook handles this stuff. So the post itself still belongs to your page, even though it's on your personal profile. So when you go to reply to any comments on it, you will be replying as your page. Facebook does that for you. It's deeply confusing, you know, but as long as you keep, that's why I keep the same profile picture for both, just to make that really clear. Oh, you've tried that, but it doesn't work. Oh, that's strange. That's how I normally do it. I normally put a post up. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll have a quick check of that. I'm pretty sure that is the way that I would normally do it, but I'll have a quick check of it. Going down again, and I'll make sure that that works okay and that that's the way I've done it, because I have posted a couple of things from my page to my personal timeline, so there must be another way around it. Yeah, there must be another way around that. But that's pretty much the difference between profiles and pages. Okay, so in terms of profiles, this is where I would recommend that you put most of your time in anyway. Now, if you're really set that you don't want to use your personal profile to talk about your art, and you want to keep those as very separate entities, it's entirely up to you. But I do think you're missing a big opportunity, because it's much easier to create a bit what I think of as an audience of people who I can contact, who I can give useful stuff to. All of the stuff that I've been talking about in Threads since we started at the beginning, where it's all about giving and what you can give people, which is going to make their lives better. So it's not as if you're being kind of sleazy and nasty. The way I approach this stuff is to give away loads of stuff for free, as you probably noticed, and then say every now and again, and by the way, I have this other stuff. And what I'm finding increasingly is that people who do buy stuff from me, the course or even Threads or that kind of thing, will tend to do the promotion bit for me quite a bit. And if you can get to that point, then to me, that's a sign that I'm doing something right. If people like the stuff that I'm putting out enough that they want to recommend it to somebody else, then I feel kind of good about that. I think I'm probably doing okay, So I'm going to, from this point on, I'm going to say a little bit about profiles and how to grow a friends list there, how to grow your friends list. This is particularly if you want to use it in the way that I'm suggesting, where you are still you're not being a business. Facebook wouldn't let you do that anyway, but the lines have become so blurred between you and what you produce, your art or your teaching or whatever it is that you do, that those lines have pretty much disappeared. The first thing to do is to make sure that your profile is public. Every now and again I get a friend request from someone with a private profile, and I find it very, very difficult to decide if I'm going to accept that friend request or not. I understand why people do it, but for me, if someone comes to friend me, the first thing I want to know is if they're interested in art, because it's almost always someone you've never heard of before, right? It's not someone that you know. It's a friend of a friend, or they've seen something you put out or something like that, and they've asked to friend you, So I go and check their profiles, and the first thing I want to know, because there's a lot of random stuff, there's a lot of spam, I want to know if they're interested in painting. If they are, then I'll friend them, because obviously that's someone that I would like to be sharing stuff with. If I can't see anything on their profile at all, it's very unlikely that I'm going to friend them, okay? So if your Facebook profile isn't open and public, it's highly unlikely you're going to be able to build the amount of your friend list that way. Also, make sure that the vast majority of the stuff that you post is public as well. For me, everything I post is public. If I'm putting a video up there, I'm not putting it up there just for some people. I'm quite happy for everybody to see it. So that's the basic thing, really. Now, for me, the split is much more art-based. I would put both, definitely put both. But definitely more, for me, I would mostly put stuff that I think is going to be helpful and that is art-based. Now, a couple of little things that are interesting. I want to show you, actually, let me see if I can show you this, a quick graphic, which shows some interesting stuff about the way that Facebook has changed over the years. So 2004, you think Facebook has been around forever. That's not that long, 16 years, really, My blog's been running longer than Facebook. Then we had the news feed, which is kind of the thing that we're used to now. They invented the like button. We'll talk a little bit about the like button and what it means in a minute. And the sorting order for the news feed. This is when the Facebook algorithm came in 2009, where it wasn't just what's the most recent stuff that's been put out. they start thinking about what kind of content you tend to interact and engage with most, and show you more of that. This See First feature, now that came in 2015, so that's only 5 years ago. Well, 4 years ago, really, you know. And that's where you can, on someone's personal profile or their page, you can tick to say you want to see their stuff first in your feed. If you can get people to do that, that's a biggie. That will really help. This one's interesting. 2016, they start prioritizing content based on the amount of time a user spends with it. Now, this is interesting because obviously that's going to weight video. It's going to weight video, and it's going to weight conversations. If you're just putting stuff up and it's not getting any comments, or you're just broadcasting without asking questions and there's not much engagement, if you don't regularly answer comments, then the chances are people won't spend much time with whatever you put out, and then it won't get prioritized so much. Now, this one's interesting. 2017, we're like 2 to 3 years ago now. Reactions are weighted more than likes. Now, this was a really difficult one, because that meant if you put up a post that made a lot of people angry, it was more likely for more people to see it. Now, that might not make a lot of sense. You know, loves are counted higher as well. That makes sense. Why angry? The reason is simple, because what Facebook wants is for you to spend more time on Facebook. That's all they care about. Maximum amount of time spent on Facebook. Why? Because the more time you're on Facebook, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more likely you are to click on one of them. And if you click on one of them, then Facebook shareholders make more money. So everything that Facebook does up until about this point was all about you spending as much time on Facebook as possible. But they did started to get quite a lot of flack about it over the last few years. They did get quite a bit of flack about that. So now they've started, from 2018, they started changing it a little bit. Meaningful interactions, you know. So if you post that get more comments, will tend to come up a little bit higher. And then there's this latest one, the 2019 Why Am I Seeing This tool. You might have seen that. If you see adverts or if you see other posts in there, you can start to give Facebook some kind of feedback on how you feel about that being in there, you know, and whether you want to see it or not, you know. So just a kind of a good quick overview about, and gives you a little, oh, I've got to bring the exposure of the camera up because the light's gone a bit. It gives you a little bit of an idea of how Facebook is looking at your stuff, which also gives you, it makes the decisions they make about what they show and who they show it to a little bit more understandable. Yeah, I think your Renee, I think your profile is public. I'm not 100% sure, of course, because we're friends on Facebook, so I would see it anyway. Please explain the Instagram page. Marilyn, I can't do that now. I can't explain the Instagram page because I covered that 2 months ago, okay? So the recording is in the Facebook group, and it's also in the main Threads site on Thinkific, the platform that I use to hold all of the content. We've already covered that one. I'm sorry if you missed it, but I can't go over that again. It would just be too time consuming right now. But if you look back at the earlier videos, there's one on, actually I think it might have been the one 2 months ago, and it was connecting Facebook and Instagram, and that takes you in a lot of detail on how to do that, okay? Yeah, if you always post for friends only, especially if you're posting art stuff, not so useful. You know, you want that to be open, you really do. Because if you're trying to grow your friends list and people, you know, you send a friend request and people click on it, if they can't see what you post, very unlikely they're going to friend you. So I'm going to go through a couple of ideas for how you can effectively grow your friend list. Now, there's a number of ways of doing this. You want to do this in, again, I must underline, you want to do this in a very authentic way. You don't want to come across as someone who's just trying to grow a friend list for marketing purposes. I get those sometimes, you know, when someone will friend me, and then they'll send me a friend request, and I'll perhaps check their page, and I'll see that they're interested in art. Maybe they teach or something like that. Maybe they paint, and I friend them, and within 24 hours, I get a request to like their page. I don't even know who this person is. You know, they go off my friends list immediately if they do that to me. That's totally the wrong way to do it. It's like they weren't interested in me at all. They didn't want to create a connection with me. All they wanted was an opportunity to push their page. It's entirely the wrong way to be using Facebook, okay? So really don't do that. What you want to do is be authentic. So if you do manage to start to grow your friend list, then you want to interact with the new people as they come in. So if they come in and comment on anything that you post, then just comment back. You know, I mean, it's good to just a good habit to get into, because that's how you build connections with people, and that's the most useful thing. Okay, so here's an interesting one. I'm going to do a quick screen share now, and I'll show you one way that you can approach this. Let's see if this will work with something I've already got on there. Friend your friend's friends. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but if you see that one of your friends has posted something, say, so let's say, here's an interesting one. Say, I'm just picking on someone at random. I'm thinking about Kathleen because I was chatting with her earlier on today. So if it's someone you know, especially if it's someone that you know posts quite a lot of stuff, and a lot of people tend to follow them and like their stuff, this is really interesting, okay? If you click on the people who have engaged with something that they posted, okay, look at all of these people. Some of you will be on here probably because Kathy and I are friends, so we'll have a lot of contacts in common. Any of these people on here, if it says message, that means we're already friends. If it says add friend, it means they don't know me. But the chances are we have a lot of common interests. 2 reasons it would be really good for me to go through these people and to add them as friends, okay? Firstly, we have a lot of common interests. Secondly, excuse me, they're a friend of a friend. So it's very likely that they know who I am anyway. And even if they don't, they're the kind of person that tends to interact with stuff. They're active on Facebook. So these are the kind of people that you want as friends. Okay. It's not, I don't find that as a particularly sleazy thing to do, because they are the kind of people that you're likely to get along with anyway. It's kind of like, you know, if you have a friend in the real world, the chances are you're going to like their friends because you're similar kinds of people. And if you do a little bit of that every now and again, you will find very quickly. I've tested it. I haven't done an awful lot of it because there's something else working for me at the moment is working much better. But that is a really good place to start. Another good thing to look at is when you're on the Facebook home, where it shows, oh dear, I'm getting a lot of these notifications up at the moment. Someone's going through all my pictures and liking them. When you're on the normal Facebook home, not on your profile or not on your page, the normal Facebook home link there, a little way down, it will usually show you a bunch of people down here and it says people you may know. Now this I do use quite a bit. That wasn't supposed to happen. What's it doing? There'll be a load of people down here, and especially the ones that have a lot of mutual friends, you know, I will quite often go through and send them a friend request. You know, Janet, 498 mutual friends. There's a really good chance that we're going to have a lot in common, and we're going to get on. You know, that is a really good place to be looking for new friends. And the chances are, because you have a lot of mutual friends in common already. Sorry, just a second. The chances are that they will accept a friend request, and they will be the kind of people that you want to contact. Okay, so that's a really useful thing to be doing. Okay. Yeah. Back on the camera again. Joining groups and participating is a really, really good way to build up your friends. If someone else, her work is so amazing, I know, her work makes me cry, her flowers are so beautiful, I feel like an infant in painting, flower painting terms, when I see Kathy's work. And I have to tell you, she's been over to visit, would be maybe a year ago now, and she's a really lovely person as well. She's exactly as lovely as she comes across online. Great. I was going to do a workshop with her, but obviously it had to be cancelled. It's a real shame. Okay, so it says, I accidentally clicked the screen and I think I'm seeing and hearing what you said 2 minutes ago. Yeah, you can just refresh the page. Yeah, you can do that, what Renee says, or you can just refresh the page and it'll come back. Okay, so that is a really good way if you want to start building up a friends list. You know, there's two ways that you can do it, and both of them will work really, really well, because those people will be already, Facebook is suggesting them because they're already semi-connected to you anyway. Okay. Now here's an interesting one. Marilyn, you've been doing really well with this lately. Don't be discouraged. Okay. That's the first thing I've got to tell you, Marilyn. Don't be discouraged. It always starts small. Okay. This one is posting video. Now the reason for this is that Facebook has begun to show video more prominently in people's feeds because it wants to be seen as more of a video platform. People love video and it wants to take YouTube's business off it. So it's seeing YouTube having these massive viewer numbers and it wants some of that action. So they're now prioritizing video, and they have been for a while. But something you need to know about Facebook and video is it prefers it if someone has been watching your video for more than a minute, then it's more likely to get shown in someone's feed. And it prefers videos to be over 3 minutes long. Okay, so make sure your videos are over 3 minutes long and make sure they're interesting and informative. And Marilyn, yours are great. You're doing everything right. It's much more likely eventually that those videos will be picked up and they will show in people's feeds. How are they going to show in people's feeds? If they're your friends. So Marilyn, you're already making really, really good video. What I would suggest you do, if you want more people to see it and more people to comment, is to start growing your friend list using those two ways that I showed you. And then when you put those videos out, repost them. You know, not many people have seen them yet, so feel free to repost them. More people will see them. Okay. Now here's the big one. The fastest way that I've found lately to grow your friend list. This is probably going to be obvious to some of you, but you know that I'm streaming live every day, 3 p.m. UK time. And I did it originally just because I was feeling frankly scared, because I'm moderate to high risk of COVID-19. If I get it, there's a really good chance that... I know. Do you want to come up? Come up then. There's a really good chance that I'm going to get some complications, so I was very worried about it, and I wanted to do something positive, and I wanted to do something for free. So I started streaming every day. An unforeseen benefit of that is that the amount of people that friend me, the amount of friend requests I get, is just... it's out of all proportion. It's just gone way faster than I ever thought it would. So in the last 2 weeks, I think that I've been doing that. My friends list has probably grown by about 1,000, perhaps a little bit more than that. And you know, it's really nice because those people are then getting to see the videos more regularly, and I'm putting them out for a completely altruistic reason, you know, because I want to help. This is the kind of thing that I think is the way that you should approach this stuff. So, you know, I'm doing something which I hope is authentic, which I hope is useful for people. But there's an unforeseen benefit to me as well, because my audience on Facebook is growing very fast. Now, why is that happening? Okay, it's partly, hopefully, because people want to see what I'm doing and are interested in it. But it's also because, unbeknownst to me, when I started doing it, I was triggering the Facebook algorithm with the kind of stuff that it likes to see. Now, I'll tell you quickly what those things are. Firstly, Facebook prioritizes live video in people's streams, in people's feeds, okay? So a lot more people we'll see live video than we'll see static video that you've recorded and then put up. The reason they do that is because it gets much more interaction. So if you look at some of the videos that I put up lately, a lot of people comment, you know, because I talk while I'm doing them. And when you're actually there, that's the way that people can ask you questions or just talk to you, is in the comments. And that's the thing that Facebook loves about content. So the more people like stuff, the more people that comment on it, and then if they even start conversations with each other, and that started happening on those videos as well, then all of those things are really strong signals for Facebook that it really wants to show this content to more people because it's getting a lot of engagement. I'm going to be going into next month, I'm going to be going into, in the Threads webinar, I'm going to be going into an introduction to video. There's going to be a little bit about kit, but I'm going to approach it from a point of view of not doing the videos like I do it. I will cover that at some point, but it's very technical. It was very expensive to set up. I want to put together a setup for you so that you can get started recording video and streaming live with the minimum amount of kit. So a single camera. Once you start adding multi-camera setups, it gets very, very complicated, and you don't need that in order to stream, okay? There's ways that you can do it with a single camera so that you can see the palette and the painting just by having the palette by the painting, or even if you're just talking and showing stuff, you know, you can do that too. I plan to do a little bit more of that soon. The point is about streaming live is I hadn't realized it made that much of a difference. Facebook absolutely loves it, and they will not only will more people see the content that you put out then if you can do that, it will start to show to people who don't know you as well, and then immediately they will see what you're doing and they'll ask to friend you too. So you start to grow an authentic audience then, you know, people who actually do want to hear from you on Facebook. So that's how I would suggest you approach it. You don't have to do the streaming thing, but that's, you know, you see a lot of stuff on the web, but this is what's working on Facebook right now. I'm here to tell you live streaming is what's working on Facebook right now. I don't do it just for that reason, but that's obviously is a considerable added benefit of doing it that way. It's difficult at first. It's nerve-wracking. I don't find it difficult going online now because I've been doing it for a little while, but when I first started going live, you know, I was catching my breath and my hands were shaking when I hit the go live button. Gradually over time, I found that people are people and it's fine, and it's just a way to connect with people. It's actually a really nice way to do it. Doesn't matter if you make mistakes. I've had everything go wrong on my streams. It's live. Loads of stuff goes wrong all the time. But generally people don't mind because you're just being more authentic, you know. So don't be frightened of doing it from that point of view. Don't think that you have to get in front of a camera and be the professional. You know, you have to get in front of a camera and be yourself. Sometimes that's not very easy to do. You all right, little man? Good job, cats land on their feet. But that's the way to approach it, okay? Video is good, but it's not. Static video that you've recorded earlier isn't as popular as live. Facebook can tell if it's a live video, if it's one you put up earlier, and they know that live video gets more interactions. Why would they, and it gets longer views as well, so why would they prioritize that? Always comes back to the same question, because they want to keep you on Facebook. If more people stay on Facebook who watch live video, and they do, then they're going to prioritize live video because they want to keep people on Facebook so that they can show them more ads so that they can make more money. It's as simple as that. That's their motivation for doing it. But it helps us as well, you know. Naomi says, yeah, you thought, no, yeah, it was definitely Studio Cat. You thought it was another cat. That's funny. Renee says, I've been trying to live stream a drawing sketching session to connect and chat. All I can say, Renee, is do it. Don't wait, just do it. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait until you've got everything set up. Just start figuring out how it works. You know, just get in there and start doing it. Absolutely brilliant idea. Naomi says, can you do a talk on how to stream and what equipment we need? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to cover general video stuff next month. Probably the month after that, which will be June, I'll go a lot deeper into streaming. But I will touch on some stuff because obviously there's a lot of crossover in the kit between recording video for posting, editing and posting, and also for streaming. I think personally it's a good idea to do both. Are we back? I think we're back. Yeah, I think we're back now. Someone said something really interesting then, a comment. I'm just going to make sure that we're back before I do. We're back? Yellow. Yeah, great. We're back again. Brilliant. I was just going to say, someone said, Michelle said, yay, what if nobody turns up to your stream? Stream anyway, as if they're there. Seriously. Do it anyway, because what happens a lot with my streams is that as soon as I start it, 1 or 2 people will join. But then all the time your stream is running, Facebook is sending little alerts to people. So if someone comes online to Facebook while you're streaming, they'll get a little alert from Facebook to say that you're live, if it's a friend. So do it anyway, and look on it as practice. I've just lost the connection again, I think. Back, I was back. I've pretty much finished for today, though. That's really everything that I wanted to go over with you. I hope it was useful and it's given you some ideas of how you can use Facebook apart from perhaps just the usual way of thinking of just putting up stuff on your personal profile. I would strongly suggest you use your personal profile for everything and prioritize the art stuff. I think it's really useful. Just show up and be yourself. You know, be authentic. I really think it's the best way to do it. There's a lot of different things that you can do. It's important not to burn out and to think that I'm going to do this every day. You know, I don't think loads of advice about social media says it's really important to post twice a day, or you've got to do it this often or that often. That's a really good way to burn out, you know, but I've been there and I've tried to do it. I've set myself schedules and I always end up disappointed. Do it at a rate that can fit with your life. You know, that's probably the best advice I can give you, and be as authentic as you possibly can. And be very patient. It takes years, literally years. I mean, you can build a friends list in a few months. You know, you could probably get up to 1,000 friends in a few months if you worked at it, you know. But don't forget, at the same time, you've actually got to be producing stuff which is going to be useful to those people, you know. So it's a lot of work, and it takes a long time to build up and make connections. What we're not after is a quick fix. That's not the way I think you should approach this stuff. It takes a long time, a long period of time. If you're right at the beginnings of this, look on it the same way as learning to paint or draw. It takes a long time to figure this stuff out. It takes a long time to build up, but you will eventually get to a point. If you do it at a rate you can manage, you will eventually get to a point where it hits a kind of a critical mass, and suddenly you'll realize that, oh, I could actually make a living here. I could actually make the transition from someone who is mostly watching to someone who's actually, you know, making an income, doing something that is really meaningful to you and very helpful to other people as well. And, you know, I have to say there's nothing better. That's how I would advise you approach it. So there's how I think you should be thinking about Facebook in 2020. It may all change in 6 months or a year, in which case I will update and do another stream, but that's the situation we're at the moment. I'm going to have the replay of this live on the Threads site. Incidentally, all of the videos, all of the previous videos are now on the main Threads site in Thinkific. I'll be putting a post up on that Facebook very soon, just to let you all know, and probably send out an email as well. And next month, we're going to start delving into video. It's not as scary as it looks, honest. You do need a bit of kit. So that is a kind of a barrier to it, but you know, I'm sure we'll find ways to get around even that if we're careful. Well, the next one isn't so much live streaming, Lucy. It's mostly video. I want to introduce video and some basics first, before we go on to live streaming. I will cover a little bit of live streaming in May, but June I'm planning to do the whole thing on live streaming and really go into depth on how it's done, you know, so that should help. Yeah, the best advice I can give you for live streaming is get yourself a studio cat. He gets more likes than I do, I swear, and more comments. Cindy says, I used your ideas of getting new friends so I can get them onto my page, but I only have 400 likes on your page. That's not bad, it seems to me. 400 likes is pretty good. Just keep on doing it, you know. Just takes time. Just be patient, it takes time. You'll get there eventually. Just be authentic and you'll be okay. All right. So thanks very much for coming, everybody. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for the online workshop, which I'm really looking forward to. Form painting and simplifying values. Okay, I'll see you then. Bye.